Hey guys, we're going to be going back to the Raxalotl fight for another rank 1 video. This time we're going to start swapping out units that you guys are asking me to, do a clear without X. The biggest comments have been no Chow and no Sylvie. I tried to do a clear without either one of them, and it wasn't really working out so well. I wasn't damage capping because of the morale failure. If you're not using Chow, morale is very, very hard to fill. If you're not using Sylvie, damage is really hard to accomplish because you're losing a 100% AoE amplify. So losing both Chow and Sylvie at the same time was not working out so well. I did manage to do a single rank 1 cap, but that required like perfect variance, and I decided that wasn't really good for a guide. It was too razor tight. It was extreme. At that point, if your gear was even a little bit weaker than mine, it just wouldn't work. So I'm going to be doing a clear with Chow, but without Sylvie. I'll be going back for a clear without Chow, but I'm going to have to bring Sylvie to the party to make it reasonably copyable. Otherwise, it becomes way too tight. So Chow here for covering and for morale, Roberta for Aqua Killer and support, Kresnik. Honestly, Kresnik isn't even really important on this clear. He's just here because, like I said, originally I was trying it with Maeve instead of Chow and using Kresnik for morale gen. It was not nearly enough. The morale was still terrible. So Kresnik is just here because I didn't feel like re-gearing the party. Olive and Chizuru are going to be our damage dealers. Now, those are two obviously super powerful damage dealers, but it is a rank 1 clear. Some new units are to be expected. And then Runda is going to be a support unit for mitigation. Let's go in here and get a clear in, and I'll explain the gear and all that as we get along to the fight. Okay, so the one thing, I'm going to go over the gear more in a moment, but Chow's resistances, notice that after the modifiers, he is not immune to water and earth damage. Obviously, that's important, so he can counterattack. Okay, so here's turn 1. Now, notice little Runda hiding behind the rock is auto-covering the party. We don't want that because that would interfere with our magic cover, and bad things would happen. So we're going to start off as the first action in the turn. Roberta is going to, in the shift form, start off with Dragon's Blood. This is a party-wide dispel. It removes all our buffs. That's going to get rid of Runda's auto cover. Then we're going to do Rousing, and we're going to do her Magnus to get modifier boost. Olive is going to be our breaker for the clear. So she is going to do on turn 1 Fiery, Brilliant, Sea Sky, Flaming Melons, and then Dual Summer Shot. That's going to imbue her with fire and then hit the boss with fire damage to seal the boss. Because you got to deal either fire, lightning, or light damage every turn. Now that attack did get miraged, but it still counts. We attacked with fire. Even though it missed, it still gives credit for attacking with fire. Runda can go ahead and LB for the mitigation. Chizuru can do Eastern, Strong, and Staunch. Kresnik can put up Arcane Stimulant, and then Chow will cover, True Guardian, and Focused Inspiration. Now, turn 1 is going to be some magic attacks that Chow will cover. We are provoking the physical stuff with Runda. Make sure Chow never ever uses his provoke. We want all the provoke stuff to go to Runda, who is passive provoking. Okay, so here is the earth and water damage, and the reason we don't want to be immune is we want to use these to counter. Now, morale on this clear is going to be incredibly easy because we're going to be bursting on turn 7. That is technically, we don't have to go to turn 7. We're probably going to honestly cap out morale by turn 5. But I'm going to extend it to turn 7 to make guaranteed, absolutely sure, no matter what, you will always be at 200% morale by the burst turn. And bursting on turn 7 is actually totally fine. But again, it's going to look like we're ready to go by turn 5, and we could be. But just to make it much more smoother for everyone, we're going to do a turn 7 burst, which is a little bit slower, but it's more safe for all players. Okay, so this turn, Kresnik is going to do his LB. That's going to put up more auto cast morale per turn. we're going to have Chizuru just cast Eastern Winds. She honestly has not much to do in this base form, so just whatever. Olive is now going to use her LB to start stacking it up. Runda is going to do Calamity Border for the Resist All buff. That's also going to give us a morale fill. Unfortunately, you'll notice here, it does make Chao immune to elemental damage. So he's not going to counter much on this turn, but this turn is very, very low elemental damage anyway. So Chao is just going to do True Guardian, Most Loyal. Just triple cast all those. And then Roberta is going to do Morale Fill. We're going to do Support from the Skies for the Mirage. And then Inferno to imbue the boss. Now, as far as sealing the boss for dealing fire damage, when we did Olive's LB that turn, that was fire damage. Okay, so here is some AoE attacks, and we're going to Mirage them. And unfortunately, if the boss does do any magic, he may. Chao will be immune to the water damage. There's a non-elemental, but there's some water damage he's completely immune to. We can't counter the immune damage, but that's okay. It's not really a problem. And yeah, a few counters, but not many. It's fine. So notice my Olive's LB is not ready here, but we're going to use Runda's SLB this turn, and that's going to fill up Olive the rest of the way, and that should always give you your Olive's LB on turn 3. Now, if your Olive is EX3, your SLB will be ready this turn. That is totally fine. Because we're bursting on turn 7, you can use the SLB on turn 3, and it'll be back up again if you're EX3 by the time we're ready to burst. And if you're not EX3, well, it wasn't ready this turn anyway. But so use Olive's LB or SLB. Look at the markers of the chart. Or SLB. Either one is fine. So EX3 Olive, EX1 Olive, they're totally fine for this clear. We're just going to do Eastern Winds again on Chizuru. Notice we're not doing Breezy Barrier on Chizuru, and I'll explain why in a moment. So Kresnik is going to Arcane Antioxidant. Roberta is going to go to the Shift form. And we're going to do Morale, we're going to do Aqua Killer, and we're going to do Insect Killer. The reason for the Insect Killer is the permanent magic buff. Now on turn 3, we can just do Reload on this guy. Okay, so notice on this turn, Chao will be imperiled. So wait for the boss's turn to go, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. So notice now Chao, even though we've got Antioxidant up from Kresnik, Chao has now been imperiled, which lowers his resistances back below immunity. So now he is once again taking water and earth damage, which allows him to counterattack and fill more morale for us. So here we go. There is some non-elemental, and here's some water damage and some earth damage. And again, we're counterattacking this for lots of morale gain. Okay, let's wait a moment for Chao to do his counter thing. Now, unfortunately, if you watch my channel, you know I don't really do video editing. So if I did, I would definitely like fast forward the counterattack turns, and maybe someday I'll stop being lazy and I'll get some like, you know, high quality editing software and I can actually fast forward content. But at the current time, I'm just using like free-to-play editing software, and I don't have all those, you know, fancy features that can like fast forward content and all that. So, apologies. Anyway, so now we are going to, Olive is going to now do Fiery, Brilliant, Sky, Giant, and Dual Shot. That will seal the boss by dealing fire damage. Runda can just triple Bolting Strike. Chizuru can once again do Eastern Winds. Now notice, do not ever do Breezy Barrier. Now the reason for this, notice how Chao is still imperiled. If we cured that imperil, he will plus the resistance buff from Antioxidant on Kresnik. Chao would no longer be vulnerable to water and earth, and we do not want that. So Kresnik is going to never ever cast Antioxidant. Do not cast that. That will remove the imperils, and we do not want that. We want him imperiled. So we're going to just Potion, Remedy, and Stimulant on Kresnik for morale fill. Chao on this turn is going to refresh cover, and then just do True Guardian and Most Loyal. And Roberta is going to do morale fill. We're going to re-imbue the party, and we're going to just hit the boss. Whoop, not that. And we're just going to hit the boss with Charging Raid to deal some damage. Now notice the morale gauge. We're actually not max morale by turn 5. This is why I'm going all the way to turn 7, to make sure that no matter what, we're going to be filled that morale gauge on the burst turn, which is going to help your damage significantly by getting to 200% morale. You know, depending on RNG, if Chow had countered a whole lot, you might have been 200% morale on turn 5, but you know, that would be relying on luck, and I don't want any luck involved in my clears, if possible. Sometimes you have to, but if I can avoid a clear being reliant on RNG, we're going to avoid that. So we're going for a guaranteed strategy that will work, assuming your gear and units are similar to mine. Obviously, if your gear is weaker, or you're doing unit swaps, that may, you know, you may get off the rails a little bit. But if you're copying my guide exactly, there should be no RNG involved whatsoever. Okay, so some more counters, blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason we're not bursting on turn 6, by the way, is because, well, you'll see. I'll show you. Anyway, so turn 5, we're just, again, stalling as we get ready. Now, one important thing, on turn 5, Chow has a gap of uptime and focused inspiration. This is a 4-turn magic mitigation, but it's a 5-turn cooldown. So on turn 5, he has no magic mitigation whatsoever. But Chizuru has our back. Or if Sylvie was here, Sylvie has magic mitigation, not a problem. But we don't have Sylvie. So we're going to do Eastern Winds. Then we're going to do Focused Spirit for an 85% magic mitigation buff. We're also going to do Focused Strength, because this is a physical damage turn, because we're not pushing the threshold. This is going to give us a 5-stack Mirage for that physical damage right here. Olive is now going to triple. We're going to Fiery, Brilliant, Sky, basically the same thing we just did. Giant, and dual Summer Shot again. Runda can once again just triple bolting. Kresnik can just reload as well. Chow is going to go back to casting True Guardian and then Most Loyal. And then Roberta is going to go to the base form and start getting ready for bursting in a few moments. So we're going to Rousing. We're going to put up Aqua Killer. Whoop. We're going to Rousing for morale, Aqua Killer again, and we're going to Mega Breath to unlock her quad cast. Okay, so at this point, morale is maxed out. But you're going to notice right here, the boss has defense and spirit buffs on turn 6. So that is why we are not bursting on turn 6. But thankfully, as long as we're doing the fight properly, which you are going to be if you're following my guide, on turn 7, the boss is going to self-remove all those defense buffs and give you a window for bursting. That's why we're doing our burst on turn 7. So anyway, turn 6, we're going to be getting ready for bursting. So Chizuru is going to Tyvis' Spirit to get ready for next turn. Runda can just SLB to put up that mitigation again. Now Olive, to get ready for bursting next turn, is going to do... real quick. Oh, no, I messed it up. Okay, Olive is going to do Fiery, Brilliant, Giant, Dual Summer Shot, and Magnus. So do it in that order. Make sure you do the Summer Shot before the Magnus. And actually, my turn chart is slightly off. Let me adjust this. There we go. That dealt fire damage because we needed to seal the boss. Anyway, Kresnik can just reload again. Roberta on this turn is going to do her LB for the LB damage buff. And Chow on turn 6 can do, let's see. We're going to put up Cover. We're going to reapply that Focused Inspiration because now it's ready. And then True Guardian's Blessing. There it is. Okay. I had a small mistake in my turn chart, but we're good. Okay, so you'll notice right here, when the boss gets his turn, Shed Skin. There it is, Shed Skin. He has gotten rid of the defense and spirit buffs, which gives us that nice opening on turn 7 for that big burst. Also, our morale is maxed out. Now we should have a reliable burst. It's still not going to be a crazy overkill. You might have seen my earlier videos where I'm doing like 4.5 or 5 billion damage on a burst turn. That's because we're using Chow and we're using Sylvie at the same time. And that is a crazy powerful combination that we are breaking that combination apart and not using both at once. So even though we are using like Olive and Chizuru, we're not going to get anything like 4.5 billion damage because we don't have a 100% amplify on anyone. Even Olive doesn't have a self-only amplify of 100. We're only using a 45% amp from Roberta. So damage should still damage cap, but it's not going to be like a double overcap like we're used to. Alright, so some counters. Give it just a moment. You know, Chao does love his counters, but that's okay. You know, it fills that morale score. That's fine. And once he chills out, we will resume our damage. Okay, so now we are going to autocast a lot. Give this a moment. Okay, let's go ahead and put up our attack and magic buff. We're going to SLB with Olive. We're going to shift Chizuru and do her LB. Those are both Extreme Nova frames. Also, Runda's going to jump in this chain as well, just for chain count score. Also, to build the chain quicker, because why not? Kresnik is going to use his LB here. That's just to put up auto-casting buffs for later. He's not part of the kill turn. And we're going to do quadruple Mystic with Roberta. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and chain the Extreme Nova guys, and then after like a second, we're going to send in Roberta. And that should be a 2.5 or better. It's going to be a decent chunk better, but it's not going to be that much, I don't think. Now, as far as Chao goes, we're going to go ahead and just put up cover again, and then True Guardian and Most Loyal. And we did, I'm going to guess 3.1, depending on variance. 2.89, so basically 2.9. So as you can see, if you take Sylvie off the party, damage becomes massively worse if you're not using Sylvie. But that's okay. We still did it. 2.9 basically. We still overcast by a fair amount. So if, for example, like, you know, your Chizuru isn't EX3 or something, you should still be relatively decent on your damage here. Now, because we're not using Kaito, we have no way at all to remove these buffs. So this boss is going to keep his attack and magic buff, and let me tell you, that increases his damage a fair, substantial amount. Thankfully, though, we're using Runda, and Runda's mitigation makes it a lot more survivable. That being said, we are still going to just guard Chao. All the safety possible. So guard Chao for that. We're also going to go ahead and put up Resilient Will for the defense buff, and we're going to put up Resolute Will for a barrier. We're also going to put up Resounding Will so we can deal some damage. Now, we're going to deal some damage. Now, the boss does have Mirage. So Kresnik is going to ×8 attack Barrage to get rid of that. Now, unfortunately, Kresnik's normal attack is very, very slow, and I should have done him immediately while I was busy chatting. But, yeah. So once Kresnik has done 5 hits of his Barrage, the Mirage of the boss, I know, confusing, Mirage. The boss's Mirage will be gone, and we can deal a little bit of damage this turn. There you go. The boss's Mirage is gone. Now we can hurt the boss a little bit. Now, for now, we're just going to use Roberta to refresh Aqua Killer. We're going to do Inferno for the Fire Imbue, and we're going to do Mega Breath to re-unlock her quadruple cast. Olive is going to do, in this order, Flaming Melons, Gunner in the Sky, or Gunner is Guardian, I'm sorry, Sky Seeing Shooter, Giant Melon, and Dual Summer Shot. Chizuru is going to do Devastating, and because she just did her LB, that's going to be a tag chain, but we're also going to do triple bolting with Runda. Okay, so the timing on this is a little wonky. I recommend you practice on the training dummy, but we're going to send Olive first, wait like 2 seconds, then we're going to send our bolting strike chainers, and if we properly did it, we will cap Olive's quintuple cast. Okay, hopefully I did it properly. I don't know if I did it. It's really tricky to time. I did. Okay, so there we go. A nice chunk of damage. Olive did 82 or 18%, which is fine. We just got to kill them. At this point, we just got to kill the boss. So here we go. Here's some damage. I said it was really dangerous. We're using Runda's mitigation, Chao's cooldown mitigation, plus we're guarding Chao. It's really not that dangerous if all that is going on. That being said, notice here, the boss reapplied his buffs and reapplied Mirage. Now, the counterattacks are hitting because Chao's counters are magic, but the boss does have Mirage yet again on turn 9. So, to get rid of that, so we can continue dealing damage as we continue to finish off the boss, we're going to use, once again, Kresnik to barrage that away. So Kresnik is going to barrage that away. We're going to use Runda's SOB to maintain the mitigation. Roberta is going to do support from the skies and double tag, because we need support for the Mirage. This is a physical damage turn. We're also going to shift Chow. Now, as you can see here, we're kind of like really overkilling this boss, but in case your team isn't quite as strong, we're going to shift Chow and get ready for bursting yet again. So we're going to use his Magnus, Prosperous, and then just double bolting. So we'll go ahead and do that first. That's going to get him ready to burst on turn 10, which is when turn 10 is going to be another window where the boss has no buffs up. Anyway, Olive's going to do her regular LB, and we're going to do, let's see, this right here. So once Kresnik has gotten rid of all the boss's barrage stacks, we will... Okay, so here we go. So remember that Chizuru's LB is a tag chain. So we're going to send Olive first, because Olive is very, very slow with the regular LB. We're going to wait like a second and a half. Then we're going to send Chizuru. Then we're going to send Roberta. And that should cap Olive's regular LB. Now, because the boss does still have buffs up, it's not going to deal a ton of damage. But again, every chip damage helps. Turn 10 is going to be the big burst to finish off this fight. So we're going to do this. We're going to wait just a moment. Do this. Do this. Hopefully I capped it properly. I may not have. I don't know. Oh, I did. I did. Okay. There we go. So there was, let me think, 59, so 16, 30, whatever. Whether I did or didn't cap it properly, it doesn't matter. We're definitely killing the boss this turn. So here's some magic damage. Now, Chow is in the DPS form, quote unquote, but still, we've got all the mitigations up, and he's got like 8,000 spirit. So, oh my god, Chow. No, he's good. He's good. He's good. And also, at this point, we don't have the Imperil anymore. It is worn off, so Chow is not imperiled. So, even though he's not geared for resistance, because, again, he's geared for damage in this form, which is honestly probably very, very overkill, and Chow's going to deal low damage anyway. So if your Chow is having problems surviving turn 9, just skip that whole power-up phase, stay in the base form, stay guardian, you'll be fine. Anyway, now it is time to kill the boss. Now, you might be noticing that Chizuru is back in the base form, which means you basically don't have any kind of real damage. That's okay, though. So we're going to do triple bolting with Runda. We're going to use Chizuru to just do her base form LB. That's going to be a modifier boost for things like Olive. Kresnik is going to Scarlet Wave to support chain with Runda. We're going to do quintuple or quad, and not, what am I doing? Quad Inferno Breath. No, not Inferno Breath. Quad Mystic Breath. Let's go ahead and do both the defense and spirit buff for Chow, and then the attack and magic buff. And then Chow's going to cap with her LB. Oh, and then Olive. Olive is going to do, in this order, Fiery, Brilliant, Giant, her Magnus, and then a big cap with the Magnus. Okay, so we're going to send Olive, wait just a moment, then send this, and assuming I did all this properly, we should cap somewhere in there. Olive definitely takes some practice to get used to. There was Chow's Chow's 250 million. So, okay, I guess Chow, quote unquote, contributed. So that whole thing which give gearing Chow for damage was probably irrelevant. But anyway, there was the rank 1 clear without Sylvie. Definitely more involved than the other clears, but we got it done, and here's the breakdown. And once again, Olive is a big time carry for this. So it's definitely harder if you don't have Olive. I'm going to not use Olive in the re-clear using Sylvie, but we're definitely... But again, we have to use the big boys if we're going for, you know, rank 1. So we're not going to use Chow next time. I'm going to try to not use Olive next time, but we are going to be using like Sylvie, Esther, maybe Wilk, maybe Sky will make an appearance. I don't know. But the big problem without Chow is that morale gauge. My god, morale is harder in this fight if you're not using Chow. But I will do what I can to make it work tomorrow. That is going to be it for today's videos. But let me show you the gear that we use. And as far as unit swaps go, you know, Olive was obviously a big damage here. Chizuru was good, but not critical. You could swap out Chizuru for like, you know, Sky or Esther or something like that. Sky is probably the best swap because Sky does way more damage than Chizuru. I'm sorry, than Esther. If Sylvie's not on the party. So yeah, there you go. Here is the party that we did use. So Chow is on Leviathan. Chow was on Leviathan for the Aqua Killer for his shift form. That was. I didn't even look. How much damage did Chow? Chow did like 250, right? Yeah, Chow's damage was bad. Anyway, so the base form. The base form, we want to gear him as close to 250 Earth and Water Resist while not actually being at 250. So you want to be at 249 or lower. That way you are still vulnerable, but not immune. So 240, 245 is the sweet spot. 220, 210, that's fine. Chow took very, very minimal damage this clear, but don't go to 250 or above Earth and Water, because then you'll stop countering, and that would be very bad. We do not want that. So counter build with some spirit, some HP. You don't need any evasion. Evasion not important. Here's the gear we're using to gear for as close to 250 as possible without actually hitting it, and then a bulk card, and then shift form. I mean, I tried my hardest. I geared him all for damage. So staff build, 7600 spirit, chain cap up of the Magister's Ring, a lot of killers, maxed LB damage. I mean, I tried, Chow. Unfortunately, your damage is terrible. So maxed LB damage, 125 Aqua, and 250 Aqua and 125 Bird. I mean, he had some killers too, but Chow is just not a DPS. That's okay. Base form Roberta, gun build because we're using Olive, so 7300 magic, obviously the Dazzle card, killers, and Roberta gears for this very, very easily. Max to both Avian and Aquatic. Shift form, pretty irrelevant, honestly. I gave her some bulk, but it's very irrelevant. Just whatever. Just who cares in the shift form. Kresnik in the base form is using a he's dual wielding because of Barrage. So Barrage and dual wield, that allows him to by himself get rid of all the Mirage stacks on turn 8 and 9, so we can deal damage. A card. If you have Sylvie's card, obviously that's really good here, but no Sylvie clear means no Sylvie card. So here we go. And then I gave him Scarlet Wave to support chain on turn 10. Not super important because turn 10 we have like tag chainers and all, but every little bit helps. Shift form is starting in the shift form with Celestite Rod, Treasured Ring, and then some LB fill, Dragon's Brush, Lotus, Call of the Wild, etc. Olive is using LB damage versus Birds and Aqua. Previous card is her best in slot if you burst it in the first 5 turns. And then here is her build, capped on everything. It's her Clash of Wills. So max. And there was a little bit of confusion about whether Olive uses magical or physical killers. She uses physical, even though she's a mage, she uses physical killers. So I went and double checked on the training dummy, definitely confirmed it. She is a physical killer mage, even though she deals magical damage. So 300 Aqua and Avian, and ignore the magic column. And she has no shift form. Chizuru in the base form, I gave her counterattack, so Blizzard Orb, Black Belt, Cypher's Coat, Looming Wrath, because she counters with... it's somewhere in a kit. It's up here. It's up here. She counters with her normal attack is AoE Omni Killer. So if we were lucky, and we probably did, if we countered the turn before the kill turn, then we had a bird killer for the party because no one else is buffing bird killer. So keep that in mind. And then we geared her for damage, even though we never actually damaged the base form. So yeah, the base form is literally irrelevant, except for Typhus Spirit and counter build. Shift form, LB damage versus birds and fish. There we go. There's the setup. Using a powerful card. Maxed LB, 275 Aqua, or Avian, and 250 Aqua. Runda is our passive provoker. A little bit of evasion. Evasion, honestly, not important. 40 evasion, you can honestly go with 0. It doesn't really matter. Just bulk. Bulk's all that matters. Calamity Border, and I gave him Eye of the Dragon. Oh yeah, Eye of the Dragon is because we do Extreme Nova on turn 7. And then Calamity Border is because on turn 2, no one else is doing the Omni Resist buff for that morale. But turn 3 and beyond, Kresnik is auto-casting Antioxidant, which is a resist all buff, so that handles that. And then we're using the a tank card, whatever, tank card, there you go. And there's his setup. Okay, I'll have a turn chart in the comments, and tomorrow I will work out a no Chow clear, which is honestly probably going to be harder than the no Sylvie clear. Anyhow, see you in a bit.